everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way. And this week's project is a really simple one. It's this cute little bunny in a flower pot. It's actually only 5 stamps, so it's not scary, and you're going to be able to do this really easily. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to use the container, the large container, and it's this container in Watercolor Project Series 9. So we're going to use that one. We're going to use the little bunny. The little bunny is from Watercolor Series 7, so set 1, this little guy. The flowers are from the Cottage by the Beach. We're going to use the little daisies. And then from our foliage set, we're going to use the small grass and the vine. Okay, so let's get going. We're going to start out by stamping the container, and we're going to use sepia. Even though the color is really light on it, we're going to start with sepia, but we're going to stamp it off because we don't want it too dark. So let's just use another piece of paper here, stamp that off, and now we're going to stamp it on our watercolor paper. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we're going to dip our brush, and we're going to begin by pulling the color out of the lines. So we're just softly moving this color from the lines to the center. And even though the container is blue, we still start with sepia. It just gives it a lot more depth. If you were to stamp it, you see how this color is. See how this little pot is blue? If you were just to stamp that pot in the blue without the sepia, it would look too one-dimensional. It just would look flat, and you wouldn't get this image of the watercolor. So it's really important to start with the sepia. Okay, so let's add our color to the palette now. And I'm actually using 75 Sky Blue, but you can use any light blue that you have. And we're just going to take some of this color now. So start out light, so that means more water, and start on the side because the side is the darkest point. So we start out with the color on the side, and we just kind of drag it to the center. Take your time with this and just be patient. It's really fun to add color, but it's a process. So as you go, it's just going to get darker and darker. So add that color, just kind of blend it over to the center, let it dry for a little bit, and then just repeat that process again. And the color will just get darker and darker as you go. This is a really pretty blue, this sky blue, but you can add any color to this. Okay, we're starting to get our color on here, and just drag it to the center. It's really important to leave that center open, so be sure you leave that highlight in here. Give you one more pass, just a little darker, and we'll be ready to go on to the next step. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's pull a little of this color now to the outside. We're just going to drag a little bit of it out. This just adds a lot. It really does. Adds a little background. It just kind of softens your image a little bit. Makes a big difference. Okay, so let's add our little pink highlight. You can see here on the original, it's got a little pink highlight on the pot. So we're going to do that actually with this one, 46 Crimson Lake, but you can use any pink or burgundy color. And so we're just going to take a little bit on the tip of my brush and just make a little decorative line here. Just whatever you want to do. It really adds a lot to put a little extra detail on here like this. A little bit down here and up here. And that's pretty much all we have to do. Okay, so let's go on to the next step. So we're going to stamp in our little bunny. Super cute. So we'll just put him on the acrylic block. And we're going to ink him also with the sepia. So we're just going to ink him all up. And he's a light color too, so we're going to stamp him off, so we don't get him too dark. And then take an eraser and just erase the eye. We're gonna put a little different eye in here, so he's got his eyes closed, so he's kind of sleeping in the pot. And we're going to use a positioner and make sure we get him in the right spot. That looks good right there. Place that little T-bar back. And we've got our little bunny right where we want him. So let's re-ink him again. Do that same process again. Stamp it off. And then erase that little eye, just with an eraser. And let's stamp him back in the little pot now. Perfect. And pull the color out of the lines. Now be really careful with this little guy. And by the way, after you've been using red or pink, make sure you wash your brush really good, because that pink will really show up. So we're just softening these lines, and this is really light, and that's good. We want this to be really light. So we're pulling this color out of the lines. Now let's mix the color for the bunny. And I had, when I colored him, I used a brown. So this is a number 6 brown, but it's a little red. And so I added some yellow to it, which is just the funnest thing about coloring from a palette, because you don't necessarily have to have the perfect color. You can mix it yourself. And I just like this little warm brown so much better than a red brown, especially for a little bunny. So I could just mix it in here until I have the color that I want. Clean my brush off, and now I can just start to add this color. So follow the lines and brush this on really lightly. I'm leaving the tail white, and the back of the bunny should have a highlight. So be careful about that. Give him a little white chest. And as you kind of come up around, add some color to the face, and keep that area light where his eyes are. This is a bit of a process, but it's really fun. And just carefully add this color. Remember, you're starting out light and you're just building the color, just like we did with the pot. So we're coming back around here. Stay inside the lines, so don't cross those lines where his little haunches are. The little foot back here is going to be really dark. So just gradually add this color. Just brush it in. His little ears are probably really dark. So let's get color on those. You can always go back over this too with your fine tip on your marker. So we can see his little white belly here. Okay, so now I'm going to use my fine tip of my sepia. I'm going to darken his little nose in, and I'm just going to put a little closed eye right here. You can add some whiskers if you want to. If you've washed out a few of the lines on his little feet, you can add those back in. And he's pretty much good to go. So let's add our foliage now. So we're going to start by inking the vine. And we're just going to put it on the block here, just like this. We don't need the whole thing, so about 2/3 of it. And you're going to ink it a few times, or you're going to stamp it a few times. Just like that. It's sort of just in the back of the pot. He's kind of taken up most of the pot, so we don't want to get too much of this vine in here. So stamp it, dip your brush, pinch it off, and then just pull this color out of the lines. Just soften all these little lines. Super easy. And this vine is in so many projects that you're probably just a pro at this by now. Soften this all up. And let's add the little grass in here now. We can put a little bit on the outside. And just pull that color up. Just pull it up. This is a simple little painting, so it doesn't require a lot of stamps at all. Okay, let's add our flowers, and we're going to be finished with this. Super quick and easy. These are the little daisies, and we're going to ink the blooms. This is a number 46 Crimson Lake. This is that same pink I used on the little container. And then I'm using my olive green again for the vines, or the stems. And we're going to stamp this one a bunch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're just going to carefully add water to this too, not the stems. You don't have to add any water to the stems at all. They're good to go. Got our little blooms in the background. Let's add just a couple more here. I kind of feel like we need to add just 1 or 2 more. Clean that off, because I'm just going to use this one right here. Ink that up again, and we'll just put it right in here. There we go. You can always fill in anything if you need to. If something has a little hole and you're not sure, you can always fill it in. I think I'm going to put just a little bit of this vine in here as well. There we go. Soften this all up. You can pull some of this green over. And our little guy looks pretty good, and he's ready to go. Be sure to sign and date. Put it on a card or put it in a frame, and just make someone's day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.